Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's the Southampton Way podcast. This is episode 18. We got fresh blood on the pod today. We got Alfie's new right-hand man, George, from the Daily Echo, and alongside me and regular Martin Sanders. So welcome, George. Thanks for joining us. I'll start with you, mate, because you were at the game against Plymouth. So what did you make of the game overall? Did you think it was a job well done, or do you think we need to stop leaving it so late with these things?
First of all, thank you for having me on the podcast. But yeah, I think what you said there, we need to stop kind of leaving it late until the late parts of the game. Spoke to Ryan Manning yesterday, and even after the Sheffield Wednesday game, he kind of pointed towards the fact that late goals are maybe part of the way they want to play, with the way they like to sort of break teams down over, I was going to say 90 minutes, but it's more like 100 minutes these days with the amount of injury time that gets added on. But I think if that's kind of something you're relying on or having as part of your game, sometimes it's not really going to happen, is it? Because you can't almost bank on having goals past the 90th minute. But saying that, to do that 3 games in a row clearly shows that there's something in the side where they're not going to almost hit the 80th minute and start doubting themselves and thinking that the system's not going to work. And I think at the end of the day, you'll take 3 points no matter if it comes in the first minute or the last minute. But overall, I think the performance kind of showed in the first half. It maybe wasn't what Saints fans would have wanted. I think Plymouth, being newly promoted, sort of started that game really, really well. The fans were really up for it. But then second half, I think we kind of saw maybe for the first time Russell Martin's ability to kind of change the games in the second half, because I thought Saints were much better, and that goal finally did come in the, I think it's the 95th minute from Shea Adams.
Yeah, it was a late one, wasn't it? Martin, George mentioned there about the first 45 minutes. It was a bit of a struggle at times. I thought although we'd controlled it in possession as we tend to do nowadays, we didn't look particularly robust in defence. It sort of looked as Plymouth were going forward, it was a bit scary at times, especially with that home park crowd behind them, because they are seriously good at home, as we know. What did you make of the first 45 after we played it? What were you thinking? At half time.
I watched it with my best mate, who's like me, massive Saints fan like you. And we were frustrated at half time. And he said to me, Martin, if we walk out of here with a point, I'll be quite happy at this moment in time, because that's how I kind of felt. I thought we looked a bit disjointed. They just didn't have the final pass. That was probably what let Plymouth down. Hats off to them. They're staying in the Championship, I think. I think they look a decent side. Home Park looks going to be a fortress for them. The pitch was a nightmare because they had that Rod Stewart concert on it over the summer. It tore up quite badly. You could see it. I wasn't there, but I could see it on TV. It didn't look great. And they caused us a few problems. It was just a final pass let them down. But it was a tough first half, wasn't it? I thought the second half, which we'll go on to in a minute, we were a lot better. But we need to tighten up at the back, don't we, and make ourselves a bit harder to beat. Shea Charles is still trying to get himself up to speed at the moment, and he's going to need more games under his belt to get to the levels that he needs. But no, it was a really, really tough 45, that first 45.
Yeah, on Shea Charles, Sky gave him as our man of the match. I did actually think he had a pretty good game. What would you, George? What would you say? Because there was a moment, I think it was in the first half, with Shea Charles, although I've slept a few times between then, where I feel like if last season VAR was involved, they may have asked the ref to go to the monitor, because he got booked for throwing his hand up because he had his shirt being pulled off of his back, and he got the booking for it. What did you make of that whole thing? Did you think that was the right decision to book him for the handball?
I think sort of with the handball rules now, seems like any time the ball touches someone's hand, it is a yellow card. But I think, the no VAR is definitely something every Saints fan, or every just fan of the Championship in general, is going to really enjoy this season. But I thought beyond that, I think Shea Charles had a really, really good game to come in at the age, 19, I think, still making his first steps in regular club football. He's played quite a few internationals for Northern Ireland already, and to come in with, like Martin was saying there, a Plymouth side who are really, really good at home. They really looked up for it, and that's kind of the games where younger players maybe might shy away from it a little bit more, but he seemed like he was really up for the challenge, really up against a physical Plymouth side, and I don't think he bowed to the pressure at all. I think he really stepped up, maybe getting the player of the match from Sky Sports is going to give him a little bit more confidence. But speaking to him after the game, he didn't seem like he's even fazed by getting a man of the match. He seemed really calm, really composed. Maybe he just expects to put in those level of performances.
Yeah, that is. I mean, it was quite comforting to see how relaxed he is and sat back, because he is, like you say, so young and so fresh to first team football. I don't actually think he made any senior appearances for City in any competition. So for him to come in and start making it here is crucial. It's a crucial part of his career, and for us that he can do well. Martin, so just on, while we're on individual performances, I wanted to touch on Ryan Manning. Obviously, George, you said you spoke to him. George said he spoke to him yesterday about leaving it late and stuff like that. Obviously, Ryan is integral to the team now. He is almost like Martin's right-hand man, as it were. As you know, he's so key to us now, out of nowhere, this free transfer. What did you make of his performance? Because I think a lot can be made for the goal in other areas that we conceded. I mean, anyone could slip at any moment. What did you make of Ryan Manning overall, and then what did you make of the way we conceded after our first goal?
He's took some horrific pelters on social media from a lot of fans. He's taken a bit of flack across all social media. Ryan Manning, I don't think he had a proper preseason. That's the problem. He's not probably played enough football like everybody else. I think he was one of the best left backs in the division last year. So there's no doubt he is a quality left back. You don't get in the team of the year if you're bang average. He's top quality. I think on the ball he looks really good. Unfortunately, he slipped when he did. There's a lot of players, a lot of people called him for Perot to be brought back into the side. I think he's the first name on the team sheet for Russell Martin. I think Martin really likes him. From what I've seen of him, he just looks a bit rusty. I think we need to give him a bit of time and settle into the game. But like you say, to concede so quickly, we've done that several times now, and it is a little bit alarming that we can't focus and kind of just control the game those moments after we score a goal and just take the sting out of it. We're a good possession-based side, but we just don't seem to be able to weather a storm straight away, and we look a little bit naive at this moment in time. That's going to have to change really quickly, because I think we said on the podcast at the start of the season, before a ball was kicked, we were all concerned that we were probably going to have to score 3 or 4 to win games, because we thought we were going to let so many in. And it's actually turned out that way. We're just letting way too many goals in, but they have to sharpen up at the back. Manning will be a big part of that. But as will the other 3 as well: Walker Peters, Stevens, and Benderek. You know, they're all a part of it. I don't think Manning's playing any worse than any of the others, in my opinion. But he has taken a lot of unfair criticism, in my opinion, at this moment.
Yeah, unfair is definitely the word. I think he's so crucial this season, and Perot, if he carries on playing like this, Ryan Manning, Perot isn't going to get near him. He's been so good. We can forget the Norwich mistake, forget the slip. The slip isn't even worth thinking about. I mean, let's have it right. Bednarek completely lost the man who scored the goal. If Bednarek puts himself in front, he clears it out for a corner and there's no goal. He didn't. He lost his man, and they lost concentration. So it wasn't Manning's fault. You know, that pitch was shocking. There was like you say, it was craters all over it. So, you know, a slip is pure accident. Going forward, George, what do you think he brings to us going for actually both of our fullbacks going forward? Because one thing I've noticed about Ryan Manning so far, not that I saw a lot of him last season, is that he's quite keen on the early cross, and he's actually really quite good at it. Do you think that that's something that Martin's coaching into the team? Because we've seen a fair few of them trying to whip that early ball in, maybe to the back post, low crosses to the back post. Do you think that's something that they've been working on, or do you think that sort of Manning's sort of doing this instinctively?
Well, we can't forget Ryan Manning got 15 goal contributions last season, and 10 of those were actually assists, and he seems like he wants to get even more than that this season from speaking to him. But yeah, I think a trait of Russell Martin's time at Swansea was kind of those, maybe not the early crosses, but at least the fullbacks kind of get into the byline and sometimes even cross into the opposite fullback, who would sort of make a late run into the box and finish the chance off. But I think, yeah, if he's kind of changing up sort of how he wants those fullbacks to play, you can't forget as well, Ryan Manning started off as a midfielder, so he's clearly someone who's quite good creatively, and we are seeing both him and Kyle Walker-Peters maybe be a little bit more inverted, which seems to be the in vogue thing now for fullbacks to come inside rather than to go outside. But yeah, I think hopefully that's something that is actually being coached into them. It seems like with the amount of detail Russell Martin gives to them, they're not going to be doing that without him having given the instructions to them to do that. But like you said, yeah, Ryan Manning is kind of Russell Martin's right-hand man. He's played under him for 2 years. Flynn Downs coming in as well now is another player who knows that system. So if anybody's going to be doing things that Russell Martin wants them to do, it's probably going to be Ryan Manning.
Yeah, 100%. It'd be sort of, it wouldn't surprise me if he had sort of if it come out and they say, oh, Ryan Manning's been given the vice captaincy, it really wouldn't surprise me. Although there is the article Alfie released today regarding Che and that situation. So let's have a quick word about a couple of other people, Martin. Nathan Teller, he and Sam Edozie on the wings. What did you make of both of them? I think Teller was personally, I think Teller was pretty on it. Edozie, I'm struggling with a little bit. It's just that final ball for him at the moment. He can't seem to find it, but he's causing problems. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I think Edozie's maybe struggling, like you say, a little bit at the moment. Teller just looks comfortable at this level. He's dynamite. He is so important to this football club. I do not feel we can sell him. I know Leverkusen have tabled these offers this week. You know, they're talking of 18 million euros. In my opinion, you can't let him go. You need him to give us a season now and give us the best possible chance to get up, because he scores a brilliant goal. He's involved in everything good we're all about. He just looks like a player that works hard, and he's everything that we need. Edozie, he could take a few tips out of his book. He just struggles with the final ball, doesn't he? I got to be honest, Sam Amiao, when he come on, I think he looks more composed. He's better on the ball. I think he'd be pushing in a minute, Amiao, for a start. He's just maybe a little bit too young, and whether Russell Martin wants to throw him in just yet. But God, that boy is good. He is hell of a player to bring off the bench. He is going to cause so much damage in this league this season. I think Russell Martin's handling him really, really well. Martin looks like a manager that gives people confidence. I love the way he manages people. I like the way he's working with Stevens, the way he's on the pitch afterwards. He's interacting with the fans. He is everything good he's everything this club needed. Russell Martin, I'm so impressed with him. He'd get hold of Edozie and he'd get the best out of Edozie. There's no doubt about that. But when you talk about players that played well this weekend, you guys, what are you thinking of Adam Armstrong this week? I thought he was absolutely tremendous. I thought he was a man of the match display for me. I know Sky give it to Charles, but wow, in the 8, sets 2 up and last ditch tackle in our box. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, that last ditch tackle was what did it for me. I mean, the two, and when you watch it back, I mean, obviously the first goal was more to the finish. I mean, Armstrong did well, but I don't know how much of that pass was sort of hope someone's there, because he kind of wasn't looking. But the weighted pass was brilliant for Teller. Whether if he meant it, that's unbelievable. But the second one is what did me, is because you could see him in the replays, the shots behind the goal. He was waiting for that second ball, and he was on it before anyone else. And obviously the aim was to score, but he, parry out to Che. I mean, it couldn't have worked out any better in the end. But what do you in terms of names on the team sheet, George? Adam Armstrong's kind of writing himself, isn't he, at the minute? What have you made of him so far this season?
I think he's got to be one of the first names on the team sheet, whether that's playing as a striker on the left wing or in midfield, as he seems to do now. I think the way he's started, I think, what is it? He's got 3 goals, 2 assists or something ridiculous like that. That's insane. And he seems to, whatever position he gets put into, he just thrives there. And I think when you've got a player in that rich vein of form, no matter where you put them on the pitch, you kind of can't take them out of the team at all. And by all accounts, he's a player who definitely wants to stay. There doesn't seem to be any sort of speculation around him on that. I think, yeah, he's someone who, no matter what happens, he has to start every single game from now on, because so far, in a Saints shirt, he hasn't really been at his best, but it seems like he's another player that Russell Martin seemed to found a way to get the best out of him.
Yeah, definitely. Last season, he wasn't really utilised at all by any of our managers, really. Martin, if we're talking about sort of best positions, what is Armour's best position really? Is it in the sole 9 like he wants to be in between the defenders, or do you think in this system maybe coming in off the left is a good shout, or number 8 possibly with the way he's tracking back, making that unbelievable challenge against Norwich, and then that last-ditch tackle against Plymouth. He could do a job anywhere. Where would you play him?
He's versatile, that's for sure. But Russ Martin, like you two both said, he's already come out. He's backing him. He says he loves him. That was the word he come out. I think it's Alfie reported it. Alfie House at the weekend. That's what his words were. He said, "I love him," and I can see why he loves him because he can play all across that front line. I think he looked quite good in the 8. I prefer him more central than coming off the left side. I think there's so many other options out wide for us at the moment. I think we're blessed with people that can play wide. People with more pace and more tricks. I like rather use a Dozy and Teller, Silamana if he does come back into the fold. Remains to be seen. Got Amiayo. There's other people that can play out there. I like him through the middle. I think Russ Martin, big credit to him. It's just another player he's just got hold of, and he's given him a bit of belief. He's probably found his level again, but he needed someone to believe in him, and I don't think any of our prior managers believed in him, from Hassan Hootel right the way through. All the managers before Russ Martin have not believed in him, giving him a proper chance where he needs to play. And I think it could be his season in a Saints shirt. He wants to wear the shirt, and that's everything that we need at the moment. We want people that want to wear our shirt. They're going to give 100%. He won't let us down. I feel really confident in him being one of the first names on the team sheet at this moment in time.
Yeah, who'd have thought that a few months ago? Unbelievable. But no, he has. He's really done it. There was only a little bit of, I think Ipswich was sniffing around for a minute, but 8 million wasn't going to come near what he's going to be worth to us this season. So I can't really see him moving on. Talking about moving on, it feels like an apt time to talk about Che Adams. That's the main one at the moment. Obviously, that your colleague Alfie George has released a report saying that Adams was, in fact, offered a new contract in the summer that he hasn't yet signed, which would have included the vice captaincy in it. What's your thoughts on Che's situation? It's tough. Obviously, he's got a year left on his deal. It seems like, to me, with a week to go, obviously talking from a fan's perspective, with a week to go, he's a young guy, kind of youngish. I mean, he's got a young family. He's just had a kid, sort of thing. And the one thing in his life, not only in football, is he going to need is probably stability for the next few years. So, is it probably a bit of an outlandish decision to go to someone like Everton, who are threatened to come down next season? What do you make of the whole debacle?
Well, without having an insight into what Che Adams thinking, perhaps maybe part of his thinking may have been, let's see sort of how Russell Martin comes in. Let's see how the side are playing, rather than commit to that contract kind of before he's had those conversations and he's seen what happens. Seems like that's kind of what happened with Jack Stevens. It seems from what he said, the early conversations with Russell Martin is what made him decide that he wants to extend his contract. But if you look at the predicament Everton are in, again, speaking maybe from more of a football fan perspective, you wouldn't maybe want to go there if they seem like a club who are maybe in decline. Maybe it's kind of a short-sighted move, but at the same time, going back to the Premier League is such a lucrative thing to do, even if it's for one season and they do come down. That's not a guarantee. Maybe he's someone who backs himself to go there and get the goals that can keep them up. Unfortunately, he couldn't do that for Southampton. But as far as Southampton are concerned, and I think as far as Russell Martin is concerned, he wants to keep him. And if it's going to be £15 million from Everton to take him there, maybe it's a money that they can turn down and let him go at the end of the year, because getting back to the Premier League would probably be worth more than just the £15 million, to be honest, wouldn't it?
Yeah, getting back to the Premier League is worth a lot more than 15 million, as we all know. Martin, you're quite strong on this, aren't you? I've seen a few of your tweets. You're quite strong on the do not sell Che train. Well, with a year left, if Everton come in table 18 million, he's still turning it down. I mean, there is a week left, so I mean, we're sort of short change for time.
I think we're like right in a I said it the other day, we're in a crossroads in our transfer window, and they got to make a big decision what they do. It's interesting what Alfie said today about the vice captaincy. I've just read that now, that he's offered that an offer's been on the table, that he looks a little bit reluctant to sign that. I would imagine he's waiting for Bournemouth to come in for him. That's my gut feeling. I'm not sure will he want to go to Everton? They're going to struggle. They're going to need someone to score out and out goals. I've chatted to a few Everton fans this week. He won't be a man for anyone in the Premier League, in my opinion, Adams. I think at this level, he'll score 25 plus goals comfortably for us. But I always feel a bit uneasy when you have a player that doesn't really want to be there, with and ahhing whether they want to be at the football club. Don't particularly like that, but he is so important for us. I know it's mad we're saying that, because last season, probably him missing the chances he did probably was a contribution in us getting relegated to the Championship. But if he goes, I'm happy to sell him, but we have to bring someone in that's as good. And I don't know how they're going to do that. They're going to put an absolute rabbit out the hat, because you need someone that knows the league. Cameron Archer's gone to Sheffield United. He was a target, supposedly. Good striker at Villa. So he's gone on to Sheffield United. We a lot of talk around Swansea's Joel Piero and him coming to the football club. It looks like he's going to go to Leeds. So that's two big targets disappeared. So who else are they going to bring in? Amanda Broya? Don't think he's going to drop to the Championship, but he'd be the sort of player you wouldn't mind seeing. But what they have to pull a rabbit out of the hat if they let him go. And I just don't really want to see someone that comes in that's not an experienced in the English game. I don't think we can take gambles, and that's my biggest thing, is taking gambles when we want to bounce back at the first time. Because I said it so many times, I don't think we want to be stuck in this league. You want to bounce back at the first attempt if you can, because the financial situation's a car crash. We just need to get back out of this league as quick as we can. He gives us that opportunity to do that. Him, Armour, and Teller, along with the Dozy. I think if you close the window now with what we got, we'll go back up. Automatic. I honestly think we got more than enough to go back up. But as the weeks have gone, we're just weakening it. So it does concern me of what's would come in if Shea went. So that's a long answer, but I'm quite passionate about how they do this bit of business now, because it's huge.
Yeah, it's super, super important. We were having a discussion before we came on, a small discussion about the depth in the striker position. Because currently you've got 4-5. If you class someone like Aribo, who's played in a 10 before, you could even say potentially could be classed as depth in that position. Realistically, George, we're looking at the next 7-8 days. We could see, as many as up to fucking nearly 10 players could go, really, when you think about it. How many players who could be shipped out the door in the next sort of coming days? What do you think on strikers for us? Is it really genuinely that important we now hold on to Adams, or is it sort of the cynic in me says, if you don't want to be here, what's the point? Get rid of him and get someone in who does. What do you think? Is it so crucial we keep on hold of Adams, or even if he does go and we don't get anyone in, or do you think we'll still have enough with the likes of Mara, Ballard, Onuachu, if he's still about?
I think if you look at the way he sort of started the season, I think he's got the most goals per 90 in the league. He seems like a player you have to kind of keep, especially if the rumours are to believe that Perot's going to Leeds and Archer's going to Sheffield United, and they was kind of the players that Saints had supposedly lined up to bring in instead of them. If they're now off the table, I don't really see a world where you'd be kind of willing to let Shea Adams go, unless they do have someone that they've also been tracking, but I don't necessarily know who that would be. Perhaps they are going to pull that rabbit out of the hat, because let's not forget the likes of Joel Perot were signed by Swansea for just £1 million, and they came into the league unproven, but now they very much are proven. But like we were saying just then, Southampton don't seem like they want to take many risks, especially Jason Wilcox seems like he's very much considering what is a risk and is it a risk worth taking. And I think if you're going to sell a striker for £15 million, who's already scored you 3 goals this season, is clearly good enough for this level. You want someone to come in the other way who is also good enough for this level. So, if I was in charge of the transfers at Saints, I don't think I'd let Shea Adams go.
Yeah, it's tough. I was just looking at the top scorers in the league last season, and the top 10, half of them aren't in the league anymore. Most of them aren't in the league anymore. Chuba Akpom, Ajax, Gyökeres Sporting, Carlton Morris promoted with Luton, Pirot off to Leeds, Teller speaks for itself. Bradshaw, yeah, he's still in. Brereton Diaz gone. Okay, Ilman Adai gone. Most of these players are not in the league anymore. I mean, to be fair, Cameron Archer only netted 11 last season, but I mean, I think Teller is vitally important that we keep hold of. Che Adams, I was slightly controversially less so, I think, because if you do lose a Shea, replacing him with someone else, as long as Armour stays fit, replacing him with someone else maybe of slightly lesser quality won't hurt as much. If we keep someone like Teller, if we keep someone like Suleimana, if we keep someone like Alcaraz, because they're going to provide so many goals this season. I think we're underestimating how many goals someone like Charlie Alcaraz can score, if he starts hitting the target as well. So I think everyone needs to calm down a little bit, just see how it plays out. If he wants to go, he may as well not be here. No one knows what Che Adams is thinking right now. So I think the next sort of week is going to be very, very interesting for all parties involved in the Che Adams saga. Martin, there's been a few other interesting links away. The likes of Aribo, Bianco. We will move on to incomings, but I mean, we got a lot of dead wood to shift in the next week, haven't we? Really?
Yeah, I think there'd be loads go out the door. To be honest, I see today. I think Alfie broke it earlier. We're interested in the right back, Ben Johnson from West Ham, which tells me there may be activity at right back. Maybe will Walker Peters be here come the end of the window? I'm not convinced, to be honest. I know that Russell Martin wants them to put their foot down on that situation with him, but it's going to be very hard. I'm sure there'll be a club come knocking for him, or there are clubs knocking now, you would think. Outgoings, Bella Kocher, they're talking a lot about him at the last couple of days. I heard Bayern Munich are in for him. Dortmund are interested in him as well on a loan. So there's going to be he's definitely not deadwood, that's for sure, because he would do more than a good job in this division. He's a brilliant centre half when he's fit. Start of last season, he was great. I'd love to see him wanting to wear the Southampton shirt and be a part of this squad because he'd be a massive addition. But there's no stranger that we're looking at centre halves as well. So you would think one of them's go, one or two of those are going out. Really, the anchor will definitely go. Aribo, there's links with him now, like you said. So be interesting to see if he sticks around. And then I don't think Mara will go. I think he'll still be here because we're just short in that striker department. Will they keep him as a squad player unless they brought two strikers in? This is unlikely, really. If you sell Shea, then bring another striker in. I was reading today that they were looking to bring another striker in, even with Shea here anyway. So I don't know how it changes depending on what happens with Adams, but I reckon there'll be loads of activity in the next week. I think it's going to be real busy. Will Gineppo go? You think he's not really featuring at the moment? You'd rather see Amiao given a chance, Ballard involved in squads. I think they'll offer more in the long term. I think Ballard's obviously not quite there, but he scored 2 hat-tricks in 2 games for the under 21s or B team, whether it was. But he's doing well, isn't he, Ballard? He's in the squad. He's in a minute. He's going to get blooded. There's no doubt about it because he's good enough. Mm-hmm. So I think the future's bright with our youngsters. It's just making room for those really and bringing a couple of nice additions in.
Yeah, without a doubt, Ballard is immense. I went to a few B team games last season, and the kid is he's just electric, man. He's just everything about him. He always wants the ball. He always wants to take the ball. He's such an eye for goal. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I think we are going to start to see him get a few minutes here and there, a bit like Sam Amo's got. It's a shame he got an injury in pre-season because I'm sure he would have excelled and had a few more minutes. But I think it's only character building for him. He's a young guy. He's got a lot of time on his hands. So we'll see how he plays. I mean, let's talk a little bit about incomings then. I mean, we are today linked with Ben Johnson from West Ham. He is a right back turned centre back, can sort of play both because he's quite tall and strong. George, you mentioned, I seem to remember Russell Martin mentioning when Tino went that it would be a position that we would kind of have to backfill that Tino Livramento position rather than getting rid of Walker Peters to get another one in, because I'm not entirely sure he's sold on the idea of having Bree as our number one backup right back. What do you make of that link altogether? Do you think that a club like West Ham might do the whole gentleman's agreement nonsense like they did with Prowsey and say, "Oh, we'll have Walker Peters off you"?
I mean, you can never know with these sorts of things. I think what you're saying there about Russell Martin and James Bree seems, don't want to jump to conclusions, don't want to write James Bree off, but in terms of kind of the role that Kyle Walker-Peters has played, okay, James Bree hasn't been given the opportunity to show that he can do that, but from looking at him, he kind of seems more like someone who can kind of play as a centre-back in the way Russell Martin likes to play, with passing out of the back. I think Ben Johnson would be a good signing if they could get him in. He's got Premier League experience. He's played a lot of games for West Ham. And hopefully, I think for Southampton, the fact that they've sold James Ward-Prowse that way will maybe be of a benefit when they're trying to go for Ben Johnson as well.
Yeah, let's hope so. And it wouldn't really surprise me, Martin, to see someone like James Bree actually eventually be used as a centre half, knowing what Martin's like. He sort of shifted players around. In fact, I think I remember Ryan Manning saying Russell Martin was the one who converted him to a left back. He likes to see potential in positions for players, so we may see that materialise possibly as a ball playing centre half. But I can't see him doing anything else. I mean, he's programmed to work in a way that is totally different, in the Jones Luton team, where his job was to win it deep, hit it long. It wasn't really what we're doing now. So, and I thought, if I'm honest, I thought he was poor in pre-season from what I saw him. I did not think he was up to it. But let's talk about another incoming, another link to the Swans. So we got Flynn Downs come in finally. Early in the week from West Ham. What do you make of it? Because there's a bit of a split in the fan base. People are quite divided. I think we're all agreeing he's a fantastic player. I think everyone's happy that he's here. I think there's the split is why no option. I think people are upset is why just a year? Why is there no option? What do you make of the move? Are you pleased? Are you sort of like upset?
Yeah, I think he's a great addition, that's for sure. I think he's a brilliant player. We absolutely needed another midfielder, that's for sure. We're just a little bit lightweight in midfield. He brings experience. He's played the level. And from the West Ham fans I speak to, I know one West Ham season ticket holder really well. He really, really rates him. Disappointed that he's gone out on loan, but he also doesn't feel, if David Moyes is the manager, that he'll play again for West Ham. He thinks they're flogging. But obviously there's no option. They're saying that there's no option to buy. Does that change at the end of the season? I think the most important thing is get the max out of him as we possibly can and try and get ourselves back up. That's the most important thing. And then kind of worry about it again at the end of the season. But yeah, they seem difficult to do business with, don't they, West Ham? Obviously, they've taken our captain. I think they've got good value for money there. That's for sure. He looked good at the weekend for them. But then there's still rumbles, and I don't think it'll happen. But if there's ever a striker you want to try and come in, it's a West Ham's Danny Ings. I think he'd be great if they did let Shea go. I was just reading Twitter then, and people saying, "Oh, wouldn't he be a great addition if we could do business?" But they're difficult to do business with. I don't see us being able to get Danny Ings, but that's the sort of player you need, isn't it? If you sell Shea Adams, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Downs does. I think he's a great addition. Yeah, looking forward to seeing him at the weekend, wearing the number 4 shirt as well.
Yeah, hopefully we will see him at the weekend. I'm pretty sure Russell Martin is going to play him, given that he said after every game previous, he said, if Flynn was playing. So you can only assume he's going to go straight in and in that number 6, wearing number 4. Well, where do you anticipate him playing, George? Because under Moyes, he was used as sort of an 8, an advanced midfielder, but under Martin, he was his deepest midfielder at all times. He was almost a sweeper for the midfield rather than a 6. He sort of sat in front of the centre halves most of the time. What is that? Do you think that's going to be his prime position? And what's your position on the whole loan thing? Not having an option to buy.
I think David Moyes even used him on the left wing at some point last season, which just seemed baffling to me. But yeah, 100%, he's going to play that. If it's anything like he did at Swansea, he'll play that deeper midfield role, kind of drop in alongside the centre-backs, trying to build out from there. He even actually played out centre-back on occasion when needed to through injury. I think he linked up with Ryan Manning when Ryan Manning was kind of weirdly being used as a left centre-back in a back 3. They used to make a lot of passes between each other. So that's potentially a promising thing to look at this season. In terms of him coming in with a loan with no option to buy, obviously I think everybody would want the option to buy to be there. But ultimately, if he's a player who can get you back into the Premier League, if David Moyes seemingly doesn't rate him, then maybe they're not going to put any kind of stance there to say, do you know what, you can still go even though you've been promoted. End of the day, if you're getting in a player who's played Premier League games, albeit not loads of them, but he's also won the Europa Conference League, that's quality you need in the midfield. And with how light Saints are in the midfield at the minute, to have someone who can come in who's played nearly 40 games under the current manager. He loves the system under the current manager. He said it was the best season he's ever had in his career. There's a reason West Ham went and paid 12 million for him after that season at Swansea. That's just going to make his whole adjustment into Russell Martin's team just that much quicker.
Yeah, it should almost be seamless for him. He's worked not only under Martin, but if I remember rightly, he said he worked at Ipswich under Gill as well, and he knows Thornton from early days as well and stuff like that. I think the whole setup is made to measure for him. He's plug and play as far as I'm concerned. He's ready to go. Martin, I'll personally add my bit on the option to buy. I think it's, as much as it's sort of squeaky bum time, like shit, if he does well, there's no option for us to trigger it. I do think that like you say, if Moyes isn't there, he may not be the new manager's cup of tea. I just think that, with Flynn Downs, it was so crucial that we got that 6 in after losing Lavia and Prowsey, that we should just be happy we've got a competent 6 in for now, a really good one. And we'll see where that takes us. The only thing you fear is that he's going to do so well that West Ham want him again, and we're going to be possibly next season playing against Prowsey and Downs, which is going to hurt. But we'll see. That's one for the future. Martin, there's been other rumbles about incomings. There's quite a strong one towards a kid from Groningen, who is also a midfielder. Would you be welcome to seeing another number 8 come into the team, given the fact we are so light?
Yeah, I think they're obviously looking at that area. They say he's a wonder kid. I've read a little bit into him, and that he's supposed to be really, really good. Norwegian, everyone draw comparisons to Ali Newsy being Norwegian as well. But he looks, I've seen a few videos of him. He looks like a tidy player. Obviously, they want to strengthen that area. So yeah, he'd be a welcome addition to the squad. I think Charlie Alcaraz can play a big role there as well, as long as they keep him at the football club. It doesn't look like he's going to go anywhere at the moment. There's no links around him. Hopefully he's fit for the weekend, and I think he was in training yesterday, so you like to think he'd be in around the squad the weekend. But yeah, definitely an area they're strengthening up, Josh, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty crucial, isn't it? Another area we are looking at strengthening in, which I think is right, especially if we are going to lose 2 centre halves again in Lianco and Bella Kotchap, is centre back. We've been linked strongly, and I believe we've had a bid pushed back by Swansea for Nathan Wood. George, what do you make of Nathan Wood? Because he seems to be one of these like bargain buys. I think they found him for something like 200 odd grand, and they could flip him for over 10 million. It's an unbelievable bit of business for them. But what do you make of him as an actual footballer? I don't think a lot of us can really say we watched a lot of him last year.
Well, I seem to recall when he broke through, I think he was like 16 years old at Middlesbrough when he kind of first sort of burst onto the scene, and then his career sort of stalled. And then Russell Martin is a long-term admirer of him. I think he wanted to bring him in when he was MK Dons manager, wasn't able to do that, eventually got the deal done when he was at Swansea, like you say, for £250,000. He's a player who's really comfortable with the ball at his feet. I think he was up there in the Championship last season for number of passes per 90 minutes, especially for centre-backs. I think he may have been even towards the top 3 just for centre-backs alone. He's, again, someone who, if you compare him to Lianco, he's much more comfortable with the ball at his feet, which is clearly something Russell Martin wants from his centre-backs. In terms of defensively, he's still young. He's maybe still a little bit naive in terms of like bringing a player in who's going to be able to prevent goals. I'm not saying he's a bad defender, but you maybe would want someone who's a little bit more experienced. But at the same time, if you're bringing in a player for what seems to be 10 to 12 million pounds, you want them to have that ceiling as well, don't you? So you're bringing them in, and if push comes to shove in a couple of years, you end up selling them for profit, then that's even better, isn't it?
Yeah, they were very, especially Phil Parsons at the fans forum. They're very strong on the fact that they are not looking at ROI when they're looking at players. They're not looking on how much they can sell them on for. But I think it's part of the game now. If a player does well, if you sign in a player and he does well, you're not going to sell him for less than you bought him for. So let's get the cold facts of being a business. If we're looking at a player age and ability is two of the top things you're going to look at, especially in the case of a defender, because young up and coming defenders seem to be costing a mint at the minute. Martin, let's move slightly on a little bit from transfers and onto the weekend, because we have got a massive game against QPR. I say massive because although in terms of points and it's so early, it's not really, but in terms of a chance to get our home form back on some sort of positive trajectory, it's huge for us, isn't it? What do you think about the prospect of QPR on Saturday afternoon?
Don't think it'll be easy, that's for sure. I know they got absolutely smashed on the opening day against Watford, but they bounced back pretty well against Cardiff. It's no stranger who I work for. I speak to him regularly. Asmir Begovic, he's their captain this season. We speak a lot. He thinks that they got some good experience. They made some good signings. Ainsworth thinks that they won't. I find it weird when a manager starts speaking about relegation this stage of the season. Oh, we won't be relegated. It's like, hold on, mate. Just focus on getting results. You don't want to hear the word relegation so early on. It just breeds a bit of negativity. But they've got some players. They're quite a physical side. Asmir told me that they're a physical side. They've brought in Steve Cook, who was at Bournemouth. Asmir Begovic in goal. He's an experienced goalkeeper. Ilyas Cher, can't pronounce his name. He looks a really good player. And their star man at the weekend, he did get injured, was Sinclair Armstrong. He's physical. He's quite a big lad, but he caused Walker Peters some problems. He kind of comes in off the left side. So he will go up against Walker Peters. And Walker Peters is a lot. He's lost a lot of weight, and he's a thin lad. If he's fit, Sinclair Armstrong, it'd be interesting to see. But they're an interesting side, QPR. It was quite a narrow defeat at the weekend. I don't think they played that bad, really. I know it was 1-0 Ipswich. Ipswich have started like an absolute steam train, haven't they? They've won all 3 games. But yeah, they were unlucky, QPR. And I spoke to Asmir afterwards. He said they played well, really, just didn't take their chances, which they didn't. Sinclair Armstrong hits both posts from one effort. I don't know if you saw the highlights, but it won't be an easy game. And we need to sort out this home form, have like a little bit of hoodoo at St Mary's. We just don't win enough games there. But we have to start winning games at St Mary's. If we're going to challenge for the title and get automatic promotion. The fans were brilliant, I thought, at the Norwich game. It was the best home atmosphere I've seen for like ages. But they're going to have another really, really good attendance this Saturday. They have to get a result, in my opinion, because if you want these people keep coming back, you need to win games. We can't afford another draw. Definitely not a defeat. You'd expect to be beating QPR this weekend, really. They're the sort of side that you have to win if we want to challenge.
Absolutely, I've been saying this all week. I think you, if you're to win, if you're going to be up there, the teams that are relegation threatened, you have got to be taking points at home. This was our problem last season. We just could not take points off of the teams that we had to take points off of, and this year that absolutely has got to change. George, what do you think is going to be key for us to be doing in order to beat QPR? Do you think much of the same, or do you think the fact that we do this all the time, we tend to leave it late and we concede sloppy goals, do you think that QPR are going to have done their research and think, well, if we could get an early one like Norwich did, then they're going to be in all sorts of trouble given our home form?
Well, I think patience is probably, unfortunately, going to be needed again. Just looking at QPR stats from their first 3 games of the season, they've averaged 34% possession in those games. That seems to be what opposition teams average just against Saints with their 70% possession. So it looks like Saints are going to have a lot of the ball. And unfortunately, when that sort of happens, it does get a little bit harder to break sides down. Obviously, Southampton are now going to get used to having to do that. But it'll be interesting to see if maybe the detail that Russell Martin gives the players will change from that. Are they going to maybe be a little bit quicker in trying to get the ball forward rather than, not that they're laboursome sometimes, but, when you're passing it around, waiting for the opportunities to raise, maybe they'll take a few more risks against a QPR side who haven't seemed to get a lot of possession this season. And they might look at that Watford game where they conceded 4 goals and try and think, right, we want to target the exact same thing. Because if Watford are doing it, another side who are seemingly hoping to go up this season or to challenge for at least the playoffs, then they're going to have to kind of match those performances, aren't they?
Yeah, which is much easier said than done. It's a really, really, really tough league, but I think QPR are definitely going to believe in themselves, given the fact that they did, like you say, Martin, bounce back reasonably well from that horror show at Watford. What do you give our chances at the weekend realistically? I know you say it's going to be a tough game. Would you rather see us? Would you rather see another high-scoring game like Norwich, but we win, or would you rather keep it tight, nick it late, and keep a clean sheet? In an ideal world, I think. I mean, a win is obviously key, but
God,
what
we are
would you prefer?
desperate for a clean sheet, aren't we? That's for sure. I think it'd breathe a massive amount of confidence into everybody if we could keep a clean sheet. I think there's ever a game to do it in, this is one to do it in. Oh, I think we need to have a go at him. The likes of Steve Cook, he doesn't have a lot of pace, does he? He's a bit of a unit. He's going to put big tackles in, but you just want pace in our side. We got abundance with Adozie and Teller. I think we could cause them all sorts of problems if we're right at the races. They're bringing a load of fans. I think they're bringing 3,500 fans with them the weekend. I heard Ainsworth say the other day, so they're going to travel well. They have a really good backing here, London club, bringing tons of fans here. There's going to be some atmosphere down there on Saturday, that's for sure. I think we got more than enough to beat them. I just think we need to have a right go at them, keep it tight at the back when we can, and if we do get early goals, I think we will score. I think we will score early doors. I just hope that we don't concede sloppy goals again. Just hope that we're better in our box and defending corners and crosses and set play. I just think we, defensive coach, can't think of his name. He's been in for a couple of weeks now. Should be making his mark now. Really, you would think. So I think they're a side that they're way there to be beaten. They're going to be a side fighting relegation. This is if there's ever 3 points to go and get, this is a game to do it in for me, Josh.
Yeah, this is it's such an important game for confidence and getting that winning mentality and winning feeling back, especially at home, because it just seems to be a bit of a bogey place, which is absurd when you think about it. But yeah, just crazy. I'm just looking at QPR actually. You can see that they have definitely gone for experience. They've even bought in Jack Colback, who I didn't even realise plays football anymore. But there you go.
So loans,
yeah,
and frees.
yeah,
Loans or
loans
frees,
and
mostly frees,
yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, most of them. Yeah. Aside from that, do you think, George, that this is Martin touched on it, that we've brought in a new set piece coach. Obviously, our corners are looking much better from the weekend. Do you think that we can accredit that to him, or do you think that the players are finally sort of getting the point that you can't be that you need to be making use of your set pieces and defending them a lot better?
I think he does probably deserve some credit. I think Russell Martin and Andreas Georgeson were kind of a bit frustrated with how late he did come in, because they had to get him out of his previous job. So that doesn't really help, does it, when you've got to come in? He was only announced on the day of the Sheffield Wednesday game. I don't actually know when he actually started the job, but you can't fix defensive set pieces overnight. That does take a little bit of time. And I think maybe even those games where they have been really bad at defending them may have even made his job even easier, because he's able to immediately show them, right, this is what you're doing wrong. When it is that glaringly obvious, I would assume as a player, you can kind of see what you're doing wrong and maybe change it. Obviously, you've got to also change those bad habits. And like you said, against Plymouth, it did look a lot better. So hopefully now going towards the end of the season, Russell Martin has mentioned it a couple of times. He's drilling it into the players, how important set pieces can be. Previously, sides have almost gone up on the back of being really good at set pieces. And I think that's something, if Southampton can get 4 or 5 more goals each season and concede 4 or 5 less goals each season, that could really be the difference.
Yeah, it's all margins, isn't it? And the margins are tight. So yeah, if we can tighten up, especially tighten up, because it's such a weak spot for us in conceding these things, then I think it's a win. It's a win-win. Martin, do you wanna lead the way? We're going to make this a recurring theme this season. We're going to do a little league table just to make things interesting. You are currently in the lead, Martin. Actually, on the player ratings, you're currently in the lead. I can't remember who you picked. Actually, was it Shea Adams? I can't remember. But either way, you are in the lead for top performer. Do you want to put in an early prediction for the top performer? of the game against QPR?
Top performer. I can go Flynn Downs. I think he'll make his debut. I hope he starts anyway. So I'm going to go with Flynn Downs to be the star performer.
I like it, Flynn Downs.
Yeah. Do you want me to give you a prediction as well?
Oh, well, I'd absolutely love you to give me a prediction.
I'm going to go with a 3-0 Saints win.
3-0.
I
hope so. I really hope so. George, so you're going to be doing this one on behalf of the Daily Echo because Alfie put your one in last week. I'm just trying to see who he went for because I can't remember going through posts. But yeah, Alfie did your one last week, and I think the Daily Echo are currently sat in second place after the first week. So we're going to take it. Yeah, here it is. So yeah, he went for Teller last week, and he was just 0.3 off of Che Adams in the rating. So Adams got 7.7, Martin, and Teller got 7.4. Who do you reckon's going to be top performer for Saints this week, and what would your score prediction be?
I'm going to back Ryan Manning. I think he's due a goal contribution at the very least. He's always active on the ball. I think going up against a side like QPR, maybe where he's come through there before, he spoke quite glowingly of how he's come through at QPR. They sort of gave him his chance, and I don't think he's a bitter person at all, but maybe that'll help him raise his game a little bit more. In terms of score prediction, I was going to go for a 3-0 as well, but to make it a little bit more interesting, I'll just go for a 3-1, a little bit more pessimistic, I think.
Slightly more pessimistic. I'm gonna back a 2-0. I don't think we're gonna start smashing goals in. I think a clean sheet is going to be more important. I think you may see us get a goal some stage, maybe late in the first half, and then maybe nick a late one. But I think after we get the first goal, it's going to be so key for us to just keep hold of that ball and keep a clean sheet. I think it's going to be more important for the confidence of the defence than you'll know. Key performer. I'll go Armour. He's been on fire, so I'll go for Adam Armstrong. Might be a bit boring, but there you go. Adam Armstrong for me. Thank you very much for joining us this week, guys. Really appreciate it. Your support has been phenomenal, and it's only going up, so it is really, really appreciated. I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping on this quickly before we do sign off. So this season there has been a couple of changes with sort of who's come, who's gone. So Benji, who was part of the Echo last year, has now left. George has come in, and him and Alfie are working together cohesively to bring you these brilliant articles and stuff on a weekly basis. Sometimes daily, more than weekly. So Alfie did say to me that there is a subscription running at the Echo. So if you want to read all of the articles anytime you like, ad free as well. There's an offer for I believe he said for the next week or so, where it's £3 for 3 months. So the Athletic have kicked us to the curb. So if you're paying your £1.99 there to see Saints stories, cancel it. Go to the Echo. They're running an offer for subscribers over there to read all of the brilliant articles they're releasing, and there is an option for an ad-free version on there as well, if that tickles your fancy. Thank you very much for listening. If you are interested in all of this, we are on all podcast platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, you name it, we're on it. And yeah, if you want to see more, we do release sporadic clips and videos on YouTube as well, so go and subscribe there. And let's hope for a result, guys, and speak to you soon. Thank you very much.